Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome to an early morning in the garage. So first off, I hope everybody had a happy holiday and all that. I got put on night work the night after Christmas, and that's kind of why I haven't had a chance to put a video out and really make some progress on our rack and pinion steering, which I actually have made some here and there. So basically everything's been very monotonous to watch, so I haven't even bothered picking up the camera, just been grinding it out. And when I say grinding out, literally grinding it out on our rack and pinion steering conversion for the drag truck. So as you guys can see here on the ground next to the broom, a lot of metal shavings. These are all grindings, and this is not the first time I've swept up. This is just from this morning. But if we look underneath the truck, we have made progress. So there's our front differential. And as you can see, all the bracketry for like our track bar and our steering gear is all gone. Got rid of all that, and we had to remove our Air Dog Champ, our fuel filter setup, so I could get the bars out. There were bars that went through here that your steering box, that's where the bolts actually go through. So I got those all taken care of, everything kind of smoothed out over here. And then on the passenger side, I was actually able to get it cleaned up a lot more than I thought I would. So got everything, for the steering gear stuff all cleaned up, and really it was a pain. We had one casualty though. All of our not piping, all of our tubing for our lines for fuel and all that kind of stuff, everything survived that. But I was down here grinding one morning or one night, I can't remember which. We did have a little incident with our oil filter. So Mr. Metabo and Mr. Oil Filter, they didn't get along too well, but that's an easy change. Probably a quart of oil and a new oil filter, but all of our lines are good, turbo drain, all that. But got all that stuff off, cleaned up. Like I said, turned out much better than I thought. I didn't think I'd be able to get up in there. Also got the, I think it's the front sway bar mount. I got that cleaned up here because our other one was on the underside of our steering gear. So we got all that stuff cleaned up. Took a lot of time. Really was a pain doing it with the engine in here. Just, awkward angles, trying not to get, stuff in your face, all that kind of stuff. So I have been mocking up our rack and pinion steering setup. That's why our cover is off, because I actually have our cover all made up. So with all my mocking things up, I actually made our cover with our mount. So as you can see, it's just boxed in here. Took a couple pieces of plate, formed them to the cover itself, and then a piece of angle iron here to cap it off, and then I actually welded a nut in here so we can just put a through bolt in, so taking it out is really easy. We can get to our bolts, everything looks good there. It is probably a whole lot of overkill because it is 1/4 inch plate, but that thing is solid. There was a lot of questions about how solid that stamped cover is, and especially with that reinforcement, that thing's solid, trust me. Also, all of our parts have finally come in. We have this kit here from Rough Stuff Specialties. This is a steering kit. It's just like these knuckles from Barnes 4-wheel drive. They're for a hydraulic steering setup on like a mud truck or whatever. So the wall thickness is a bit much. It's 1/4 inch wall tube, but it was like an easy kit to buy. I could find it. Barnes Off-Road, who we got our knuckles from. These knuckles will actually be eventually welded onto our steering rack to these pieces that the tie rods came off of. Barnes Off-Road sells this same kit. The only difference is these bars are 14 inches and the Barnes ones were 10. I got the 14-inch one from Rough Stuff because I didn't have the rack yet, so I didn't know how long everything was going to have to be. So like I said, the rack, like I said previously, I should say, the rack is from Detroit Driveline or Detroit Axle. I think it's Detroit Axle. You can find it on eBay, but they have a regular website. They are based in Detroit. They're remanufactured these components. But we got the rack from them, and then had to cut the tie rods down just so we had this piece here that threads into them. This knuckle, we will actually just be welding this knuckle onto. So I'm just kind of running over the parts because anybody sees these videos interested in doing it, I don't want you to have to hunt for where to find these parts. And then we have our Thurn adapters. These go where the ball joints originally did, or not the ball joints, the tie rod ends, like here on our linkage, and then convert it to a 1/2-inch heim, and then all this stuff will eventually make our pieces. I don't think we're going to need the 14 inches of tube here, so you could probably get both these from Barnes Off-Road rather than having to go to 2 separate companies. So anyway, I know a lot of talking to begin the video. Like I said about the parts, I just want, if anybody is looking to do this, anytime you pick one of these videos, I want you to be able to find the parts rather than having to go back to the first video or whatever. I want you to be able to find this stuff. So anyway, we're going to continue our mock-up so that way we can get the passenger side bracket made. Like I said, I did a lot of mock-up, made the bracketry on the differential cover for the driver's side here. So we just need the other side of the rack mount, which I have some plates already cut for, so we can try and do that. But the other big question, what does all this weigh? How much weight are you actually cutting out of the truck? And surprisingly, it's not as much as I expected. It's still a fair amount. It's still enough that we were a little bit over our 25.6 cert weight, and this definitely puts us under. So I wrote a list. I weighed everything on the old bathroom scale, as accurate as that must be. So the track bar weighs 17.4 pounds. The linkage, this is all the old stuff we took out. This linkage here, let me do it. All right, let me do it this way. So the track bar weighs 17.4 pounds. All this linkage here weighs 39.2. This cross member and miscellaneous metal we cut out was 24.8 pounds. Stabilizer, 4.2 pounds. The steering box itself, 39.8 pounds. We're replacing it with a rack that weighs 21.2 pounds. This linkage setup weighs 17.4 pounds. Like I said, it's very thick wall tubing. I would have preferred to go with chromoly, but this was just an easy option, and honestly, we're probably not going to even use most of that tubing, so that weight will come down. The diff cover now weighs 8 pounds. I don't know what a stock stamp one weighs, 2 pounds maybe, but that one now weighs 8. And then our brackets weigh about 5 pounds, say 5.5, because we will be adding some gussets. So we are also going to have to add a track bar to the truck, so we have nothing to center the axle anymore. So with this track bar, we took 125.4 pounds out. Without the track bar, taking that out of the equation, it's 108 pounds. So that's how much weight we cut out of the truck, because we have no idea what our track bar will weigh. Probably half of what it did here, so probably like 8 pounds or something like that. But anyway, all the stuff we're putting in weighs 52.1 pounds, and that's 55 pounds saved. So saying 55 pounds saved, we don't know what the track bar is going to weigh. We're probably not going to use all that 1/4-inch wall tubing, but that gives you a ballpark estimate. About 55 pounds you're going to cut out of the truck at least, and then how creative you can get with other stuff. Like I said, that tubing is a little robust for what we're doing. I would have rather had some kind of chromoly or whatever, but I was just looking for something easy. Finding the heim joints, all that stuff just wasn't worth the time, and I wanted to just kind of get everything here. So anyway, we'll get to our mock-up now, get our diff cover installed, get our rack in place, and then start fiddling with our plates here. Take these angle plates that I made and get them in that cleaned up area on the axle, and hopefully get everything tacked in, and then we can double check our steering once again. I did check everything. From what I've seen, the better way to do this would be to have this slip yoke, like there's a slip joint right here. It'd be better to have that before this U-joint, because then when the axle goes up and down, all the play is taken up there, and then you can support this steering shaft on the frame. So what's going to happen is when we move the truck up and down, like if we pick it up by the frame like it was on a lift, if we pick it up like it's on a lift, or we squat the suspension all the way down. This shaft's actually going to move around a little bit as the axle moves. So we're going to see what that all does. I did clearance our engine mount a little bit, just trying to make a little bit more room. So after all that talking, it's time to get to work and get something done. I know I'm probably rambling on, but it's all the information I think you guys need. I am a little tired, so that probably doesn't help either. But anyway, let's get this thing mocked up. All right, so we got our rack and pinion where we want it. Everything's looking good. Looks good to the axle. Our brackets are tacked in. Everything is sturdy, not moving. So that's what I want. I want to just double check when we check our range of motion. I'm going to ratchet strap the truck down, lift it up by the frame, see what it does. And I've already done this, and I had some clamps trying to hold this to the frame to keep it in line and all that, but I just want to double check. But when we go to pick the truck up by the frame, this U-joint is probably going to hit this indentation, like it would have, well, where factory kind of ran in here, which is fine. We can always make room if we need to. I just want to see what it does. That's also why we clearance the engine mount here. But we're just going to double check everything before I finish weld it. Honestly, the night work's getting to me. We're not going to finish weld it. This weld on top is going to be a real bugger to get to. I may just end up stick welding that. I haven't decided yet. I mean, then again, when we pick it up by a frame, if I picked it up by a frame, set it on jack stands, we'd have more room. So we'll see. So that's what we'll do next. I do have our chains disconnected, so the truck is sitting at like its natural ride height. And so when we pick it up, the U-joint should go this way. When we crunch it down, it should kind of come this way. So we'll see what it does, go from there. Hopefully this all works and all our brackets are good, and then I can put a coat of paint on that diff cover. We can get that all finished welded out, and we will be that much closer to having our rack and pinion installed. All right, so if we look at our bump stop is sitting down on the axle, and we have plenty of clearance for our steering shaft. As you can see, it has moved away from the frame rail quite a bit. So what we'll do is we'll pop this thing back up, and then we'll jack up on the frame and see what it does. Like I said, I'm expecting it to actually hit the frame rail. The steering wheel turns just fine. And before I pop it up, I'll rotate it. Everything turns fine, no binding, everything is good. Everything is great. Our rack and pinion's going in and out. Perfect movement. So we'll pop this thing back up. All right, so as you guys can see, our U-joint is not actually hitting the frame. Very, very good. Now, it is hitting up here on the engine mount. If you guys can see that spot right there, this mark. I did turn the steering shaft with the steering wheel. Doesn't turn too hard, but it was enough to put a little mark on our shaft so we can clearance that a little more. Not that it's a big deal. The only time we'd be doing something like this is if we had our limiting chains off and we had the thing on a lift. So as you can see, the wheel spins free or moves free, so we're good. Our rack and pinion steering brackets look like they're going to work well. Like I said, ideally you'd have your what do you call it, your collapsible joint before your U-joint, but we're able to reuse what we have, and I'm very happy with the result. Now we may have to, move some wires and stuff like that, but not a big deal. So we'll set this thing back on the ground. Let's see here. I want this wheel over here. And back to where we were. So now we can turn our steering, no binding. I'm very happy with the result. Everything is great. Now this is its natural ride height. We can just turn our steering wheel. Now there are no wheels connected to it, but no issues whatsoever. So very happy with this. It did take quite a bit of lining things up. I had made my bracket for my differential cover and had everything tacked together, and then just had some clamps on the passenger side here, and then did this multiple times, and it would still move a little, but that's just because where it would hit, then any little force would push the clamp, whatever. But everything is great. We are free to weld this thing up, which, like I said, I might just stick that because it's going to be a pain to get to with TIG torch and be able to see. But yeah, I'll get this all removed and we'll go from there. All right, so our two mounts for our rack and pinion are close. Our driver's side is done on the differential. I'm gonna pop that cover off so I can give it some little spray bomb job. And the bracket over here, I need to make some plates for the sides. Do I need it? I don't know, but I'm gonna put them on there anyway. It's your steering. This is how you control the truck. That's weight I can withstand. Which is kind of weird saying that we just lost weight by changing our steering, but our rack and pinion should give us better control over the axle. I TIG welded about like half of the bottom plate, and honestly I just need to get some shut-eye. Night work's getting to me, but the top there I'm definitely probably going to end up stick welding that, just for the simple fact of I can't get in there and see my rod and my TIG torch. If I can stick weld it, it's just a lot easier to do all that. It's one thing to worry about, and you can get it in there. I feel more confident I can get a better weld that way. Like I said, I'm going to put a plate here and a plate there to strengthen it up even more. Is it 100% necessary? Don't know. Don't really care. It's better safe than sorry at this point. We have our two nuts welded in to bolt our rack and pinion to. I'm very happy with it. We have checked our range of motion. We are good. We bottom out the suspension. We unloaded on a lift or whatever will be good. I will clearance the engine mount a little more. Also, I'll probably add a gusset to it, kind of come down a little bit from that bolt and, over or whatever, just to strengthen that back up. Not that I think it really, I don't think it has to have it, but I'll just, put it in there to be safe. So very happy with our results so far. Our rack and pinion is just about done. Once we get the mount situation completed, we just need to do our tie rod ends, which we now have our parts for, and then we need to do our track bar, which honestly I haven't even thought about yet, and I'm not that worried about. We can worry about that situation later. I just want to get the rack in there, and then eventually we can put our cross member in the front here. I got another thing I'm thinking about for the rear of the engine, you know, to kind of support things a little further. But anyhow, we're making good progress on our rack and pinion. I just wanted to show you this video, or I wanted to show you guys this whole process because it's not as easy as you think, because I definitely went into it thinking, okay, you know, you just bolt that thing on there, you aim this thing, no. Figuring out how that steering shaft goes is definitely a major hurdle. It's definitely the most time-consuming part. Also figuring out your mounts and all that. If you notice, my bolts actually go in at an upward angle. My rack is tilted a little further out to try and clearance that engine mount. All the ones I've seen before just seem like the bolts go straight through, so they're a few degrees further set back. But it all depends on your setup. If we were putting the engine further back, that would make things like 10 times easier. If we had a tube front end, it'd be way easier. But we're dealing with a factory frame, engine in a factory location. It just is what it is. And we're not pulling the engine to do it. You know, normally you can kind of get things set up. All right, this is where it's going to go. Pull the engine, then you could get in and have access to fully weld everything the way you should. Not saying stick welding is a bad way to weld something or anything, but just that you could get in there a lot better. So we're just dealing with what we got and going from there. I'm happy with the progress. I'm happy with how things are looking, happy with our clearance and all that. So I need to get to bed. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe down below. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrench on your truck.